welcome to the 2.4 preview. So the first thing that I want to mention is that this is on the test server and a lot of things are subject to change. Also, my character stats are greatly increased so that way I can show off the new raids, bosses, and even the sequential phantasm. So let's start by taking a look at the new Wanderer's Log version 2.0. So when you go to your character screen, there's this DNA sign, and if you click on that, it's very similar to the Wanderer's Log, to where you get rewards for doing certain things like leveling up your weapon, matrices, reaching level 90, and you're able to claim all of these rewards. So now let's take a look at the new UI. So right here, you'll notice we have the weekly tab. It's pretty much the same as normal, except it looks a lot better. Also, you'll notice we're able to get 360 vitality, and it still works the same way to where we recover 1 vitality every 8 minutes. And if we go to our recommended section, we have our daily bounties, our sign-in, place to go ahead and do our ruins, our Mia's kitchen, and what world exploration we have not finished. The next tab is the select, to where we can do our join operations, our dimensional trials, which now has a quick battle option, so if you click on go, you can decide how many challenges that you want to do, and it's based off your vitality. You can match how we normally do, you can just enter right away, or you can do the quick battle. So let's just go ahead and do 5 real quick, and it instantly completes dimensional trials for you. This is great to do if you don't have a lot of time and you just need to quickly raise your vitality. Then we have the challenge sections. This is all pretty much the same, except there are a few extra things added in here. So let's go ahead and discuss what has remained the same. Wormhole, pretty much the same, no extra levels. Frontier Clash, the same as well. You have normal, you have hard, and you match like you normally do. Here you can go to Origin of War. We have Void Abyss, where you can do the Rift, and then of course we have Void Abyss. You can get your tech. Here you can do raids, and 2.4 brings in a new raid, Ring of Oblivion, to where this week we can do the normal raid to get rewards, and unfortunately we have to wait until next week before we can do the heroic raid to get even better rewards. But later in the video, I'm going to show the rewards for normal, heroic Rudolph, and heroic Shattered Realm. Break from Destiny is still the same thing. You can get your 250 dark crystals, and you want to make sure you do that at least once a month. But Arena has changed some things. For the people that have not reached Grand Marshal, now Critical Abyss is similar to Apex League. You'll notice right here, it's in the same section, so you can actually reach Grand Marshal by doing an 8 vs 8 team. But now Critical Abyss is now balanced to where their equipment stats, their matrix effects, and their simulacrum effects and invincibility are not effective. Weapon and relics are now maxed, and all wanderers are at level 90, and they have balanced the weapons so that way none are too overpowered. And this still plays a similar way to how Critical Abyss played. The first to 1,000 points wins, but you are able to pick rows going in. So if you have a strong team, you can easily get to Grand Marshal every season. And our last section is the reward recovery, where you can click on that if you forgot to claim your vitality or Mia's kitchen or things similar to that. So now let's talk about Bygone Phantasm. So the original Bygone is pretty much the same. If you reach Balance Realm, you have 4 weapon bonuses. But one nice change for Bygone is now you can see your relics before you start the match, and this is the same for sequential. But the biggest change is sequential Phantasm. Now you have 4 sections that you can choose from. You have Frost, Flame, Bolts, and Physical. And essentially you're trying to get the highest score you possibly can every season. But you only get 2 new attempts every day, and you can hold a grand total of 10 attempts. But each section has the same rewards towards its own element. So as you see, I cleared the lightning one and I was able to get these rewards. Whereas if you notice, the gear selector boxes are boat Pacific. And these scores do affect your Bygone ranking, so you do want to try to get a high score in all of these. But as you see, the Bygone rankings are still the same, to where you get dark crystals, booster modules, advancement modules, and energy crystal dust, to where you get more depending on how high you rank. Next, let's talk about the casual tab. So Artificial Island has changed. Down here you can go ahead and click this present, and you can easily collect your resources in Artificial Island. On top of that, you can visit your friends' islands by clicking this button right here, and you can also visit your crews, if they allow you access. And one other thing about Artificial Island, we now have access to a mysterious vendor. So this is how it works. Every day, you have a chance for this guy to appear at 12 at a random location. When the mysterious vendor is present, an icon and a countdown for the mysterious vendor will appear in the Artificial Island's main page. You see it around here. The rewards that he sells are random, but a lot of them are very good. And these rewards can be purchased by other wanderers who visit your island. The wanderers that do visit other islands are only allowed to purchase up to 8 items per week. So you might want to try to make a few more friends this upcoming patch. Besides all of that, Artificial Island is pretty much the same. So now let's talk about fishing. Hopefully you have your fishing, at level 9. The reason being is if we check the store, we are now able to buy matrices. Right here, I can buy an SR matrice, but if I scroll down, I can buy an SSR matrice. The only downside to this is you have a weekly limit of 1, and it's going to be a random SSR matrice box. This time it happened to be Crow, but if we click on it, even if you buy this matrice box, you have a random chance of getting a random Crow. So if you already have a 3-star Crow and you get the same one, that's unfortunate. But I have heard that if you already have a 3-star matrice, you're able to turn that extra matrice into a different matrice of the same pool in an upcoming patch. So these are still good to get if you have your fish level high enough. So now let's go ahead and talk about the new relics in patch 2.4. The first one is the Mini Pelican. Now this is actually a pretty good relic to use underwater, and it actually helps you move pretty fast. I'll show you how fast it moves later on in the video. But the first star, it makes the cooldown go down to 60 seconds. The second star recovers the full endurance while using it. 3 stars, you get to have 3 charges. 4 star is the main thing that vote mains are looking for, to where it increases your vote damage by 2%. And 5 star just reduces the cooldown to 30 seconds. And you get a new paint shop. And the second relic is Overdrive Shot, which are really good for physical comps. First star gives you 5 doses instead of 3. Second star allows you to restore HP to full when using it. In Apex League, you only recover 20%. 3 star, you reduce the cooldown to 150 seconds. 4 star is a physical damage boost. And 5 star increases damage dealt to Grievous targets. So as you see, basically the physical relic. Next, let's go ahead and take a look at our new Suppressor level. And here is the new Suppressor level, and we're going to need a lot of Potent Omnium Crystal 2s and Potent Omnium Crystals. For 9.1, we need 5 Potent Omnium Crystal 2s and 25 Potent Omnium Crystals. In 9.2, we need 6 Potent Omnium Crystal 2s, but at least the Potent Omnium Crystals stay the same all throughout this. In 9.3, we need 6 as well. 9.4, we need 8. And 9.5, we need 8 as well. So altogether, to fully max this out, we need 33 Potent Omnium Crystal 2s and 125 Potent Omnium Crystals. So hopefully you guys have been buying your Potent Omnium Crystal 2 from the Crystal Dust store. And now we have more backspace to where we have 20 pages to fill up with items. And something that a lot of people have been looking for are matrix presets. So if you click open preset, you can go ahead and start making your presets. So how this works is if you click the floppy disk, it automatically saves the preset. You can even rename the preset. Once you have another preset that you want to do, you go back to the open preset. Click the floppy disk and it'll load that one. You can rename it if you wish. And then when you click use on a preset, it'll automatically load it up. But if you've been enjoying this, consider subscribing. I do Tower of Fantasy content to help new players as well as veterans prevent mistakes. Now let's go ahead and talk about all of the standard weapons. They all got buffed. So if you take a look at Samira's weapon, all of her normal attacks got increased by 20%, except for Bullet Rain that got about a 3% increase. She also got a 20% increase for her dodge, her skill, and her discharge. Now if you take a look at King's weapon, his 3-star got increased by 5%, where his discharge multiplier got increased to almost 30%. Meryl's skill cooldown got reduced to 30 seconds, but her discharge got increased by 10%. All of Crow's normal attacks got increased by 10%, except for Spiral Dive. Now it does 44% instead of 42%. His dodge also got a 10% increase as well. For Shiro, her normal attacks, her dodge, and her skill got increased by 15%, whereas her discharge got increased by 20%. For Huma, if you look at her skill, both forms now do additional damage equal to 4% of the Wanderer's max HP, where her discharge now does an additional 5% extra damage equal to the Wanderer's max HP. Tsubasa, they increased her normal attacks, her dodge attack, her skill, by 10%, and they increased her discharge by 15%. Zero now has an elemental resonance, similar to limited banner characters. On top of that, if you use him in a Benediction team, he also increases the whole team's flame attack by 5%. Coco has a frost reaction, similar to limited banner characters. On top of that, like Zero, she has a frost benediction effect, so if she's in a Benediction team, she's going to increase the whole team's frost attack by 5%. And Lyra has a similar effect, except she increases the team's physical attack. And the same for Nemesis, except she increases the team's volt attack. Now let's go ahead and take a look at the comments there. Pretty much nothing in here has changed, at least so far, except for the Spacetime store. Now we can buy a visor. And if you notice here, it is 100 crystal fragments. But as I said, this is a test server, and this has been updated to where it will be 4 shards for 8 crystal fragments, with a weekly limit of 20. We also get access to the Matrix blocker, to where it's going to make it easier for free-to-plays to get a 0-star 2-piece matrices set, and whales not to get over 4 matrices when they're trying to 3-star a set. This works for all the new simulacrums moving forward, meaning that this will not work for reruns until the new flame character comes out in LAN reruns. Next, Clare stream machines have been updated for this patch to where we can only get 3 Clare stream machines each week instead of our normal 7, but they are buffed and we do get more rewards. I did this for 2 weeks and this is what I saw so far. 15 Spacetime crystal fragments, 3 red nucleus, 4 advancement modules, and sadly there's still a bad one that you can get where you just get purple matrices. Now let's talk about the settings. If you look at the other section, we now have the ability to hide our buff bar to where it only shows the newly obtained buffs, or we can expand it and have it like normal. And also in the same section, we have the ability to choose if we want to start out using Annabella's smoke or burn grenades. And now we can choose to display quirks. And what quirks are basically, think of like Fenrir's music. You can turn off ally effects or you can turn off your own effects. So this is how Alice's Field looks when you have the quirks turned on. As you notice, you see the very dark background. It can kind of mess up your vision, especially if you use this under the water. So now let's go ahead and turn it off. So now if I activate Alice's skill again, we don't have that dark field that messes up our vision. But as you see, if I run around, you still see the clone. So I am inside Alice's Field right now. Now let's go ahead and take a look at controller. They have added controller settings to the game. So if you click up top, it will go to change controller settings. As it stands now, we can change certain buttons on the controller to do various skills in the game. But unfortunately, there are still some controls that you can't change. But I do believe this is still being worked on and will probably be better once in live. Another issue that is holding the controller back is we don't have the ability to change target, so hopefully this is added into the game. But as I said, this is an early version of controller support. Here are the underwater mounts that we can get in patch 2.4. The first one you get through exploration. This one we can get by using old Vera coins in the Gachapons. And this mount you can get through a special event Gachapon to where you use Tanium to purchase it. Let's see how fast each mount is. We'll use this as our starting point and we'll go to that rock. Next, let's take a look at the new Gachapons, which are located in the Entertainment Center in Mioria. The new Gachapons are located to the left of the old Gachapons. You need to walk up the escalator and then you go towards the left. And if you're familiar with the Security Force mission to where you need to check out the candy store, that's pretty much where the Gachapons are located. So we got 2 new Gachapons that use old Vera coins. So let's go ahead and clear this thing out. So to completely clear out the first new old Vera coin machine, it costs 17,650 old Vera coins. And I didn't get the mount piece until the second to last pull. So let's see how much it costs to clear out the other old Vera coin machine. And to clear out the second old Vera coin machine, you need 17,500 old Vera coins, which also have the 2 pieces for the underwater mount. And here you have the light blue Gachapon machine. I recommend that you pass on this one unless you really want those emotes. But I recommend trying to go for the new Gachapons that have the new matrices. But let's see how much it takes to clear out this Gachapon machine. And to clear out this machine, you need 10,000 Mira. At the very end, you have the light purple machine, but you can also access this machine down at the bottom where the other Gachapons are at. But this is how you get access to the Habuella matrices. But first, you have to clear out this initial Gachapon, and it's going to cost, unfortunately, 10,000 Mira. And now we have access to the Habuella matrices. And you go towards the right, you'll see the purple Gachapon to where you can access the Habuella matrices as well. Next to it, you'll see the yellow Gachapon to where you need to clear the initial one out for 10,000 Mira to where you can access the Silca matrices. So let's go ahead and clear this one out, and 10,000 Mira later, that one is cleared. So let's go ahead and clear out the Habuella matrices. And to completely clear out this machine, it will cost 10,500 Mira. Now let's clear out the Silca Gachapon. And to clear out this machine, it costs 10,000 Mira. Now let's go ahead and take a look at the new appointed research. So if you go down here to deep sea exploration, we now have 3 different areas to where we can do our appointed research. Unfortunately, I was not able to unlock this, so I'm just going to go ahead and click on every tab. That way you can kind of see what it's going to take. And depending on how many phases there are in each section, you can kind of determine how many materials you're going to most likely need. So let's start at the top, ocean ecology. So let's look at B for the very top. These are the materials that you need, and there's only one phase, but we do get a golden selector gearbox. B on the bottom is pretty much the same, one phase, and we get a golden gear selector box. To the right, the next B, there's 2 phases, and we do get a golden gear selector boxes, so we should be getting quite a bit of pieces of gear. Same for the bottom, a golden gear selector box, and it's 2 phases. Now we start getting a few more extra paths. So at the very top, B, 2 phases, another golden gear selector box. We have an A, which has 4 phases, which gives Mira and crystal chunks. Then we have an A at the bottom, which has 4 phases, which gives Mira, booster modules, and relics. We scroll over, we have a B up top, which gives a gear selector box, and it has 2 phases. We have an A, which has 4 phases, which gives Old Vera coins and Spacetime crystal fragments. Then we have A at the very bottom, which has 4 phases, which gives Mira, booster module 2s, and it has 4 phases. Scroll over again, we have A at the very top, which gives Old Vera coins and relics, and it has 4 phases. In the middle, we have 4 phases, which gives Old Vera coins, and at the bottom, we have 4 phases, which gives Mira and booster module 2s. And the very last one, we have 5 phases, and we get confinement shards and combat engines, as well as Mira. In the middle section, we get drone shards, visor shards, and Mira, and it has 5 phases. And on the very bottom one, it is only 1 phase, but it's repeatable, and you can get booster module 2s. So now let's take a look at the gray space monitoring. So starting with the very first one, A, this has 1 phase, and we can get Old Vera coins and a gear selector box. Going towards the right, we have A at the top to where we can get Mira and relics, but there are 4 phases. At the bottom, there's an A to where we can get Mira, energy crystal dust, and crystal fragments, but there are 4 phases, and this is also one of the reasons why you might want to start trying to farm some gray space spines. And at the very end, we have 5 phases to where you're able to get Colossus arm shards, micro reactors, energy crystal dust, and Old Vera coins, and it has 5 phases. In the middle, we can get Omnium shield, exoskeleton shards, and Old Vera coins. And the very last one has 4 phases to where we can get Old Vera coins and Spacetime crystal fragments. And our last section is Planktonic Colony. So for the first one, B, it has 3 phases to where we can get Old Vera coins and a golden gear selector box. A has 4 phases to where we can get Old Vera coins and relics. And the next A has 4 phases to where we can get Old Vera coins, energy crystal dust, and relics. Then we have quite a few options, starting at the top with B to where we have 3 phases and we can get Old Vera coins and relics. The next one, 3 phases to where you can get Old Vera coins and relics. Under that, you have 3 phases to where you can get Old Vera coins and relics as well, which is the same for the very bottom one, having 3 phases to where you can get Old Vera coins and relics. Leading to the very last one, we have A at the very top, which has 5 phases to where we can get Spacetime crystal fragments, and the last one is the same to where it has 5 phases and we can get Spacetime crystal fragments and relics as well. So now let's talk about the new area that we're going to be able to explore. So starting out with the Grand Sea. So this is a pretty big area where we have an island up top and we have 2 small islands at the bottom. When you dive down into the bottom, you get into the second area, which is basically a mimic of the top area. Here is where you'll find inners. And the last area is the Dragon Breath Volcano, to where you can fight Habuella. And here's the rewards for each area. Basically, they all have the same rewards, except you do get 1 piece of the underwater mountain. And supply pods still just give Old Vera coins. So now let's get back to raids. This is the Heroic Ring of Oblivion raid to where you fight Ava. you will get some tips which will help prevent you from dying. A lot of the things that Ava does can do some serious damage to you. If my character was not buffed, I most likely would have died multiple times. But one of the biggest things that I notice is if you see a number above your head, get away from Ava and try to go into the water so that way you can help clear it. If you're near Ava, generally you're going to take a lot of damage if she hits you. But if you are having trouble beating this raid, I do recommend that you hit the question mark, which will tell you how the raid works. And you can read up on what she does, so that way you can understand the fight and avoid some unnecessary deaths, so that way you can complete the raid. But here are the rewards you get for completing Heroic. But note that you will not be able to get the Heroic rewards until you complete Normal at least one time. Here are the rewards you get for completing the normal Ring of Oblivion Ava raid. And these are the rewards you get for completing the Heroic Rudolph raid. And this is what you get for completing Heroic Shattered Realm. And now let's talk about the new world bosses. So let's take a look at Dragon Breath Volcano. Here is the location of Habuella, but as you notice, this whole lava infested place is frozen over. So to fight Habuella, you need to complete the main story, so that way this place is unfrozen. So once you get to the end of the story, you unlock the spot to where you can fight Habuella. But since this is a volcano area, it has a temperature effect to where if you stay here too long, you basically die. So as you see, as I'm getting closer to the volcano, the temperature is getting way too hot, and my character is taking massive damage to eventually I will die. Now the only way to prevent this is for me to get a protective suit, and I need to do a side quest so that way I can get access to it. To start the side quest, it pretty much activates the second that you beat the main story. To start it, you need to go back to Inners. So once here, you pretty much want to go straight down the stairs, and then you want to go down the bottom stairs. You want to go towards the left front fin, to eventually you'll get into a room and you'll find the NPC that you need to talk to. And you need to talk to this guy so that way you can start the quest. But while we're here, you want to take note of a resource dealer that is on the right hand side of the room named Ronnie, because he gives you a chance to get many pelican shards, which for my vote mains, you're definitely going to want to try to get that advanced as soon as you can. And sadly, there's a weekly limit, so you want to try to get all 5 shards every week. So now back to the quest. After talking to this guy, he's going to make you talk to the girl right next to you, and she's going to send you on a mission to gather up some materials. So starting out, you need to go get a light from a jellyfish cave. So once you're inside the cave, you need to solve a puzzle to where you need to activate the jellyfish to where they light up all of the little eggs at the same time. Once you get it correct, it should look like this, and then you just need to swim up into the middle and collect your reward. And this is the first piece of the protective suit. One thing I recommend that you do when you get this quest is to read the locations where a lot of these items are, because you're going to need to find a well and you need to get a bubble from it for the next part. But the location to where I found my well was at the top of the map, right about here. Once you find your well, just kind of swim behind it and look for a bubble, and that should be the second part needed for the suit. And for the last piece, you need to get 20 mechanical sensors, so if you see these while you're exploring, I recommend you get them. And I strongly recommend an interactive map, so that way you can get these much easier. But these are similar to the surveillance beacons that you see in Vera. And once you collected all the materials, you go back to the NPC, and then she's going to give you the second part of the side quest, basically stating that, oh no, we need a stronger material. Go fight a boss. Which brings us to our next boss location. So on the Grand Sea in the right hand side, that's where you can go fight Silka. Once there, you'll see a giant bubble of water. You need to fly into it so that way you can engage the boss. The things that I noticed while fighting Silka is basically that you can get marked with the sign, and if you're near Wanderers, you can do some AoE damage to them, so if you do see a mark above you, try to stay away from Wanderers. It also goes into this form to where you have to beat the drums. You have 3 chances, and if you miss, it's going to do some really powerful AoE damage, which could end up killing everybody. But here are the rewards that you get after you perfect decipher the chest. So we got the quest item, some appointed research mats, 15 microreactor shards, and a Silka shard headpiece, which is 1 out of 100, so I need at least 99 chips for me to be able to make that accessory. Now if I go back to the NPC, give her the last part, I'm able to get the protective film. And now when I'm near the volcano, I have this protection to where I won't be taking massive damage. And here we are fighting Pabuella. It's actually a pretty simple boss fight. Basically all he does is keep trying to charge up to launch very strong flame attacks. His charge rate can be slowed down if he's being attacked by a frost team. If he doesn't get his shield broken, he can activate the volcano, which will greatly improve his resistance, making it a little harder for him to kill, so I do recommend that you do try to break the shield. And this is what I got off the boss as well as in the chest. If you notice, I only got parts of an exoskeleton and not a full exoskeleton shard, and I did not get one accessory piece, so there's a chance even if you perfect decipher that you don't get an accessory piece, so you might need more than 100 chips to guarantee that accessory piece. And with that, that should be everything I was able to find out about patch 2.4. So what do you guys think? Are you guys looking forward to patch 2.4? Let me know down in the comments. But other than that, talk with you guys later.